welcome back to Crosscraft Sundays, where today we're going to be talking about cross-stitching. Now, cross-stitching is something I haven't done for probably 20 years. And what got me back into it was what I decided to make for our Christmas ornament making. My husband and my two sons and I make ornaments every year for the tree. And I thought this year, embroidery was on my mind because I've been doing so much of that lately. And rather than try to teach them to embroider, cross-stitching is really simple because you just follow a pattern and make X's. And if I can make those patterns as easy and as simple as possible, they might be into it. So we had a big cross-stitching party. My mom and my grandma and my two nieces came over, and we just had so much fun. We had cocktails, and we went and ordered noodle bowls from a local Vietnamese place, and we just had such a great time. And here are the resulting ornaments. I took the ones that were cross-stitched on Aida cloth, and I put them on a felt background, wool felt, and put some buttons on it and threw a hanger on it, and they're so natural looking and so pretty on the trees. So it was a really fun party, and they were really great. Those, I basically did a Google search for cross-stitch ornament patterns, and there's of course a million free patterns. So I found some, and then I recreated them on Word by just putting inserting a table and then making as many columns and rows as the program would allow for me to do on one page. And then I just filled in each square with the pixelated picture that I saw online. So that's a really easy way to get a simple design, and that was super fun. And oh, here's a couple of them. Like the fox that my son Josh did is this guy here, and then I did this basic tree and then added beads to it. So you get the basic idea. I mean, it's really simple to do. I saw a bunch of cross-stitch pop culture references. The first one being Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is one of our most favorite shows. And as you can see, I have cross-stitched them onto this pajama shirt that I'm wearing using what's called waist cloth. You can get it at the big box stores. It's basically an Aida cloth, but it's very coarse, and the holes are a little bigger, so that when you're done with cross-stitching whatever your design is on a t-shirt or a bag or whatever it is that you want to do, just pull the threads out, and then what you have is the resulting image that you're going for, and you can put it on anything. So it's really fun. I'm thinking about doing that on some quilting. Might be really neat. So after we got done with that, I still kind of was into it. I didn't want to stop cross-stitching, so I went on to the iTunes store and found this awesome app called StitchSketch. And that is available for the iPad. It basically lets you import a picture or draw your own image and then spit it out into a PDF where you could email it to yourself, save it to iBooks, and then cross-stitch anything that you wanted to, and I'm all about it. So the app is $8, a little bit of a sticker shock with that, but it's totally worth it. And I'm going to show you how to use that app and import a photo and then also draw out your own design. Okay, so here we are with our iPad with our newly purchased StitchSketch program, which looks like a little cross-stitch bird here, this little guy. When you're working in this program, it's helpful to have the iPad paintbrush or an iPad stylus that you can use for when you're designing your own. But for now, we're just going to set that aside, and we can control the actual buttons in the setup with our hands. So when you come to your home page, you've got your gallery, which are the designs that you've already done, a button that says new, and the import, and then the user's manual, which I found complicated, so I just push buttons and play. Now this is a new program to me, and it's much more involved than what I'm going to show you, but I want to show you the basics just to get you started. Okay, so let's start by importing a photo. What you would do is just hit that import button. Now the size of the file is how many stitches, how many little blocks. If you're familiar with Aida cloth, the most standard Aida cloth is 14 inches to the inch. So let's just, for today's sake, say that we're using a 14-inch Aida cloth, and we want 100 little tiny blocks along. So 100 divided by 14, we're going to get a 7.5-inch image. Okay, so that's just some simple math you can do to figure out how much, how big your project's going to be at the end. So we're going to go ahead and choose an image from the library. I'm just going to go with the latest little version on my camera, which I put on there for you today. We need to move and scale. We need to get rid of all of this white stuff around it, okay? And we're going to scale it so that that's going to be our image. Okay, and there's a little use button up here, and we hit use, and it spits out a cross-stitch chart, which is super great. Now at this point, there's not a lot of editing you can do to the photo. If you don't like it, if it's too big or too involved or too small or whatever, then delete what you've done. Just hit the undo button, okay, and then maybe we're gonna start with a new one. So let's go back and go, no, we don't want to save the current chart. We're going to go to new and, oh, sorry, not new. That's for in a minute. We're going to go to import, and let's say we want our chart even bigger. So we're going to go to 130, and we're going to use more colors. We're going to use 35 colors. I'm going to choose that photo again. Okay, and then we're going to blow that guy up. Use. And now we've got even more of an involved chart. I particularly find the symbols distracting. If you're using a ton of colors and it's hard to see, that may be helpful for you, so you could leave it. But I want to show you how to just go by color only and eliminate those symbols. You would go into the chart information and hit cross stitch and then hit pixel art and then go back, and you can see it's eliminated all of those symbols. It's still going to give it to you on the chart index here. But really, when I'm doing I don't really look at these. I basically just choose a color for each one and just kind of go for it. If you want to save that, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the PDF button, and we're going to name it. Let's name it Honeysuckle, or Honey for short, and we're going to hit OK. And then it's going to give you some options. I just do fit to one page just because it's a chart. It's easiest to see. The size won't change unless you decide to change your Ada cloth size, and you're going to generate a PDF. This PDF can be, you can screenshot it, you can get it to the size. Oops, don't do that. Okay, this screenshot can be emailed to you. It can be saved to your iCloud. It can be imported with your iBook so that you can have it, which is what I do. And that way I've got it on my iPad and I don't need to use Wi-Fi or anything to get it again, okay? Or, of course, you can save it to your gallery. Generating the PDF automatically saves it to your gallery, it looks like. Okay, so there it is. Now, let's do a new cross stitch, something that we're going to draw with our pen. Okay, we're going to hit new, and I'm going to title it flower. I want that extra information, so for now I'm going to hit that cross stitch button. It sort of puts in the information of the last one that you created. So just to let you know what the chart size is referring to is how many squares across or up and down that you want to go. So let's just keep it really simple, and let's just do 100. Now the size of the piece will depend on, of course, the Ada cloth. So the cell size is basically the size of your Ada cloth, which is 14 per inch. So what you have here, if you can notice, it's 7.14 is going to be the size of your ultimate design. If you, let's say you want to do a 16-inch Ada cloth, which is smaller, that's 16 squares to the inch, then your piece will be 6.25. I happen to love 16, so I'm just going to leave it there. And then hit OK. All right, so that brings up our 100 by 100 chart that we can just start now designing, this is where it's really helpful to have one of these. Hit the hand button. The hand button allows you to move your piece around without marking it, okay? The marking things are this guy here. So you can blow it up, you can make it so that you can design on it where you can actually see the darn thing. If you want to find the center, even if you blow it up, the nice thing is this chart will work with you. It will kind of grow with you. So the center point is here and here. So for now, let's just mark. Let's see, I don't even know what color it's got. This will let you add the colors, by the way, but for now we're just going to pop a purple in there. Okay. And mark this center, which is approximately right there. That way, when you squeeze it on back down, you know you've got just the center of it. Okay, we're going to go back to the pen. Right here is where you would add colors, and this along the side here is where the colors will show up. So let's do a light purple. And let's see. You know what? I'm just going to go to RGB. Sorry, I don't want to do specific brand names right now because all of my thread is wrapped up on little cards and I have absolutely no idea what numbers they are. So I'm just going to go by color anyway. That's the most fun. And let's go. I always like to do at least 2 shades of a color. And then let's pop in some greenery. Whatever you're attracted to, you can always change these out later. It's not even a big deal. Okay, so we want to zoom up our screen, so we hit the little hand button, and now we're working right in the center. The pen, and let's put in the center of our flower, which is going to be this little yellow guy right here. And then we're going to do some petals. We choose purple. And of course, you can be completely freeform with it and just... And let's say you like this petal shape, then you can mimic all of your petal shapes to sort of look like that, the same one. But it's more interesting if you don't worry about all that. Let's go with a darker purple to get sort of some of the behind petals. Isn't that cool? And then we want some leaves. And a vine. Okay, this is completely tragic, but you know, you get the idea. I'm just sort of trying to show you what to do. Let's say I hate that vine, which I do. I'm going to undo, undo. So this undo button is so great because it will let you undo either whatever your last swipe or touch was to the iPad. It's really great. Let's say we love that. Oh, here, we got to put in the aqua. We went through the trouble of... Kind of looks like a little birdie sitting on there. Anyway, you get the idea. So let's say we love it and we want to save it. We're going to come up here to the Save button. We're going to name it Flower. Hit OK. And then when we go into our gallery, which we can just exit out our workspace because we've already saved it, go into the gallery, and there it is. Okay, there's our picture that we took earlier and our new flower. And you just double click it anytime and then edit it however you want to. I have created this. This took, it really wasn't too bad. It took about an hour to do. I had it really full of flowers and greenery, and I thought, my gosh, I don't want to cross stitch all that, being lazy. So what I did was then I just took the eraser and I just erased kind of some of the greenery in there, and now you can see I've got this sort of sort of an abstract little wreath, and then I went in and I took some brown and I added some branches, and now I've got this great ring of flowers where I can add anything I want to in the center. I've got a book on cross-stitch alphabet, so I can write that in and then go ahead and cross-stitch it. Now I'm going to save that for the last. I know what I'm going to write because it's for a gift, but I'm going to work on this later on today. We're going to go over to a brewery here in Denver called Grandma's House on South Broadway, where every Sunday they have foul mouth cross-stitching, which just sounds so sassy. So you know that something very sassy is going to go into the center of this ring. So that's what we're going to work on today. And if you happen to be watching this on Sunday morning, January 8th, 2017, come and join us. I am meeting my Stitch Squad over there, and we are going to drink beer and do fall mouth cross stitch. Doesn't that sound like so much fun? So I want to next show you the beginning of this little cross stitch that I've done and how I go about working the colors. Okay, so here is the little book that I was talking about that I got over at Joann Fabrics, and it's just called Alphabets, and I can either work my alphabets from the book directly or just import them into my design, which I'll probably do. I'm kind of a fan of one-stop shopping so that I have the whole design ready to go, and I only have to have my iPad. Okay, so there's that. This is this design that I am working on based on what I showed you, based on the chart that I designed in the book. Okay, so the most important thing I think for working a successful cross-stitch design is having the X's face all of the same way, meaning the top part of the X will always be facing, let's just say, from left to right. And it's hard to see on camera, but that's so that when the light hits it, it all just looks really consistent and really great. So in other words, let's see, my next red one, gosh, this is so awkward. My next red one is going to be right here. So you can see my needle coming up right there. And I'm working it. Oh, let me bring it a little closer. Going down there. Okay, now I have 2 strands of floss going because a 16-inch Aida cloth is really small. Although it goes up to like 24, 28, and 32, which is tiny. Definitely get out those cheater glasses for those, but it's gorgeous, the designs you can make. If you have a 14-inch, sometimes I use a three strands of floss. The floss comes in 6 strands, and so I'll separate them into 2 when I'm working this tidy. Okay, but I've totally interrupted myself. But now I'm going to work the second part of this X, which I always do in the same direction. So I'm coming up from the right. Ugh. Of course, inevitable on camera, I get a knot. It's because my string's too long. Okay. And then I'll crisscross down to right there, so that the fabric, the thread, is always facing the same way. So coming from the right, going down that way. Okay, I'll work another one for you. And it doesn't matter, I'll do it the other way. So it doesn't matter if you come from the top going down to the bottom or the bottom going down to the top. See that? Look at that little bugger in there. Well, let me show you how to get a knot out, because that's inevitable. I always use strings that are much too long because I'm too lazy. You see you've got that little loop. A lot of times, if you put your needle into the loop and pull on either one, you can make that loop so small that it hugs your needle, and then you pull your thread and it just comes out. It's kind of magic. Alright, so then I've gone from the top down to the bottom, there. And then I think last time I went from top to bottom, but this way I'm going to go from the bottom. Now let's say you have stitches that you want to do horizontal and you've got 3 in a row. So a lot of times what I like to do is I'll work the half mark. So I'll go I've got 3 stitches to do from right to left here. So rather than crossing that X, I'm going to make the 3 half marks. and then I'll cross the X's. Okay? That always looks better too. It's a little easier to do because then you don't have to think about the direction every single X. So if you have a long row of horizontal or even vertical stitches, this works for, stitches, you can just work the first half and then come back around and do the second half. And I can even go, I know I'm going to work 3 bottom ones, so maybe this time I go from the bottom to the top. It doesn't really matter as long as that thread, see how they're all laying this way. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm just going to complete the ring and just keep going around, and next color I might do some more branches and fill in with some of the lighter green. But I just kind of rotate out the colors. Some people will use one color and they'll fill in every single square that uses that color, and that's fine too. Now on the back, let's say I'm finished with this color and my back is really messy. I don't really mind that too much because I know I'm going to cover that, and I will probably frame this piece right in. I'll tuck all of that under and just keep this as the frame. But when I am done with the color, what I do is I'll just weave it in, kind of like knitting. Just weave it in. And then you're okay to just cut it at that point because you're most likely going to stitch back over that anyway, so that should hold it nice and tight. Alright, so that is my cross-stitching lesson for you. You've learned how to actually do the cross-stitching, design your own, and that program takes a little bit of practice. Just email me, or if you need anything or you have questions, I'm happy to answer them if I can. Like I said, the program is so much more involved than I even know yet, because you can also do knitting, you can do filet crochet, beading, all kinds of great things with that program. So have fun with that, enjoy it, and play with it. And maybe we'll see you over at Grandma's house for some foul mouth cross stitching and some brewed beer. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next week.